Good afternoon, students. Here comes the third chapter in politics, that is how the state government works. The previous chapter, we had learned about the role of state government. In the last chapter, we had discussed about how the system of administration of the different states. And now we move on the next topic or next chapter, that is how the state government works or functioning. And your lesson to start with a story. That is, some of the events are in Patalapuram district. I think in that story you have heard a new words, some of unfamiliar words are there. Some official names, such collector are there, then health officers are there. And do you any time do you heard about the word MLA or Legislative Assembly? Do you know your MLA in your locality? In which party he or she belongs? You know. You have any idea about it? Okay, here in this chapter, we are going to learn about new concepts and new ideas that may be unfamiliar to you. The first one, that is MLA or Member of Legislative Assembly. MLA, we the people in democratic country, we the people are the right to elect our representative. That means we choose the representatives or we choose the MLA of each constituency. Before that, what is constituency? For the purpose of election, each state is divided into number of electoral constituency. That means for the purpose of election, each state divided into number of areas. This is known as constituencies, and Malayalam word Niyojakamandalam. And each of the state have different number of constituency have. And in your textbook, the example of Maharashtra. I think Maharashtra has 68 electoral constituencies are there. Like in each state, in India, we have 28 states. And each state have number of constituencies. And these constituencies, its meaning, for the purpose of election, the state divided into number of areas. That is known as constituency. From each constituencies, we the people are select our representatives or MLA. In your locality, you know who's your MLA, who is your MLA, and he or she belongs to which party, that you know. MLA നമ്മളാണ് തിരഞ്ഞെടുക്കുന്നത്. In a democratic form of country, we the people are the right to select our representative. And the previous chapter, we had discussed about universal adult ranches. That means those who completed the age of 18, they have right to vote, and that people are select their representative. And each of the state have number of constituencies, and each number of constituencies, each constituency have their own MLA. And this MLA became the member of the Legislative Assembly. And we have any issues and we have any problem, we can approach to our MLA. And each constituencies and have each MLA, and he or she belongs to some political party. And from those party or those MLA got enough majority. In majority of the state, those party and those MLA have clear majority, and they can form the government. We know that the last few months ago we have election in our Kerala state, isn't it? And those party who got highest majority in election, that party became ruling party of the state. Okay, that's the few months we know that Communist Party of India under the Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, that party got highest majority, and then they formed government. That means those party who got enough majority, more than majority to run a government, they form the party and they known as ruling party. ഏത് പാർട്ടിക്കാണോ കൂടുതൽ വോട്ട് കിട്ടി ജയിക്കുന്നത് അവരാണ് റൂളിംഗ് പാർട്ടി, ഭരിക്കുന്ന പാർട്ടി ആയിട്ട് മാറുക. They have the right to form the government. And second, those who have next majority, they form the opposition party. Ruling party means those party who have clear majority in election, they form the government, they known as ruling party. And next majority, which party got next majority? അതായത് റൂളിംഗ് പാർട്ടി റൂളിംഗ് പാർട്ടിക്ക് കിട്ടിയ വോട്ടിന് നെക്സ്റ്റ് വരുന്നത് ഏത് പാർട്ടിയാണോ ആ പാർട്ടിയാണ് ഒപ്പോസിഷൻ പാർട്ടി ആയിട്ട് ഫോം ചെയ്യുക. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് പ്രതിപക്ഷം, ഭരണപക്ഷം ആൻഡ് പ്രതിപക്ഷം. And in Kerala we have Pratipaksham, that's a party that is Congress party. And our ruling party or Bharana Kakshi nu parayna party, that is CPM. Okay. And these are the ruling party and opposition party. Next, how we select the chief minister? Those members or those MLA, we know that we already discussed that each of the constituencies we are elected our MLA, and these MLAs they together decide and to take a leader for their own party, and that person became the chief minister of the state. അതായത് നമ്മൾ തിരഞ്ഞെടുത്ത ഈ MLA ഉണ്ടാവും, ഈ പല കോൺസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യുവൻസീസിന് ഒരുപാട് കോൺസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യുവൻസീസ് ഉണ്ടാവും. ഈ ഒരുപാട് കോൺസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യുവൻസീസിലെ MLAയും കൂടെ എല്ലാവരും ഒരുമിച്ച് ചേർന്ന് ഒരു തീരുമാനം എടുക്കും ആയി അപ്പോയിന്റ് ചെയ്യണം, ആരെ ആക്കണം നമ്മൾ ചീഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റർ എന്ന്. ദാറ്റ്സ് ദ ചീഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റർ. അതായത് അവർ തീരുമാനിച്ചതിന് ശേഷമാണ് ആരാണ് ചീഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റർ ആവുകയെന്ന് നിലവിൽ വരിക. അതായത് അവരാണ് തീരുമാനിക്കുക. ഇലക്റ്റഡ് MLAs ആണ് ചീഫ് മിനിസ്റ്ററെ തീരുമാനിക്കുക. ഓക്കെ. The MLAs they are decided their leader, and that person became the chief minister of the state. Then this chief minister appoints each minister and their various departments, and each of the MLAs, they may be, some of them have the position of minister, and these minister they will look after their own departments or their own ministries. And each of the ministers they have their own department and their own, or otherwise their own ministries. That we know that different departments are there, isn't it? Health departments, finance departments, agricultural department, industrial department, and public transport. And each of the department have their own ministers, and they look after their own ministries or their own departments. And once the elections finished, or once the election happened, the governor of the state appoints the chief minister, then other ministers also. Governor has the duty to appoint, or government has the duty to appoint the chief minister and other ministers of the state. And here how the next, some of the ministers, some of the MLAs, they have dual responsibility. Dual responsibility means they are at the same time they are MLA, and at the same time they are ministers. അതായത് ചില സമയത്ത് ചില ആളുകൾക്ക്, ചില പേഴ്സൺസിന് ഡ്യുവൽ റെസ്പോൺസിബിലിറ്റി ഉണ്ടാവും. ഒന്ന്, അവരൊരു കോൺസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യുവൻസീസിലെ, അതായത് ഒരു നിയോജക മണ്ഡലത്തിലെ MLA ആയി തിരഞ്ഞെടുത്ത വ്യക്തിയായിരിക്കും. അറ്റ് ദ സെയിം ടൈം ഹീസ് ബിക്കം എ മിനിസ്റ്റർ, അദ്ദേഹം മിനിസ്റ്ററായി മാറി, മിനിസ്റ്ററുമാണ്. അതായത് മിനിസ്റ്ററുടെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ, ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റ് കാര്യങ്ങൾ നോക്കും വേണം, അതേപോലെ തന്നെ ആ കോൺസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യുവൻസീസിലെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ നോക്കുകയും വേണം. Okay, that is the dual function. And in legislative assembly, what is legislative assembly? Legislative assembly, that's a place where all the MLAs, that whether he or she belongs to ruling party or whether belongs to opposition party, both of the party they were met together and to discuss various matters or important matters related to state. Clear? In your textbook have one example that is a different discussions about specific matters by different MLAs. That actually means some example for some debate what is actually happened in a legislative assembly. and that debates, and each of the MLA have their own suggestion and their own arguments, and each of these persons, they were conducting a debate in legislative assembly. And from legislative assembly, that all these MLAs together and the departments, we call or we refer it as a government. We usually used or this word as in a government. And in a government, those members were the present in those are in the member of legislative assembly, they form legislature. And these some of the members, they are executing some laws for the country, and this branch is known as executive, that you have to study in a higher classes. That's in summary, our government has three organs. First organ, legislature. Second organ, executive. Third organ, judiciary. The first organ, that is the legislature. Legislature means it's a law making organ. അതായത് നിയമമുണ്ടാക്കുന്ന വിഭാഗം. And the second one, executive. Executive means those members in executive, they will execute the laws of the country. Execute means നടപ്പിൽ വരുത്തുക. And the last organ, that is judiciary. Judiciary is the apex institution, whether this law it's a correct or not, that decided by judiciary. അതായത് ഉണ്ടാക്കിയ നിയമങ്ങൾ അത് ഗുഡ് ആണോ ബാഡ് ആണോ, സൊസൈറ്റിക്ക് നല്ലതാണോ അത് മോശമാണോ എന്ന് തീരുമാനിക്കുന്ന ഫൈനൽ ഡിസിഷൻ ഇസ് വെസ്റ്റഡ് ഇൻ ദ ഹാൻഡ്സ് ഓഫ് ജുഡീഷ്യറി. ഓക്കെ, ഇസ് ഇറ്റ് ക്ലിയർ? Here comes your last topic, that is how the state government works. How they works. The earlier we just discussed about in legislative assembly we have different debates, and each of the MLAs, they were have arguments and discussions, and they are asking questions to the ruling party, etc. And they were also criticize the ruling party. അതായത് ലെജിസ്ലേറ്റീവ് അസംബ്ലി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അവിടെ ബോത്ത് റൂളിംഗ് പാർട്ടി ഉണ്ടാവും ആൻഡ് ഒപ്പോസിഷൻ പാർട്ടി ഉണ്ടാവും, ആൻഡ് ബോത്ത് ഓഫ് ദം ഹാവ് ആർഗ്യുമെന്റ്സ്. The opposition party, they are always criticized, they have any problem with the ruling party, they criticize the opposition party. അതായത് ഭരണപക്ഷം അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഭരിക്കുന്ന പാർട്ടിയുടെ കയ്യിൽ എന്തെങ്കിലും മിസ്റ്റേക്സ് ഉണ്ടോ, റൂളിംഗ് പാർട്ടിയുടെ കയ്യിൽ എന്തെങ്കിലും മിസ്റ്റേക്സ് ഉണ്ടോ, the opposition party criticize ചെയ്യും അതിനെ. And they were discussed various matters in each of the state and their own constituencies. And from they form some of suggestion or advices, and from they are taken important decision for their own constituency or important decision for the state as a whole. And we know that in our newspaper, in a democratic form of government, we the people have the right to ask questions to our government, and we have to declare or we have to openly speak about or criticize our government through channels, medias, different social medias are here. നമുക്ക് നമ്മുടെ ഗവൺമെന്റിനെ ക്രിട്ടിസൈസ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള റൈറ്റ് ഉണ്ട്, നമുക്ക് ഫ്രീഡം ഓഫ് ഒപ്പീനിയൻ ഉണ്ട്, നമുക്ക് തുറന്നു പറയാനുള്ള എല്ലാ ചാൻസും ഉണ്ട്. And as a result, the government also respond to us through the press conference. If any issues happen, government has called for a press conference. Through the press conference, government has to decide or government declare some of the important decisions. And many times, I think you all are familiar. In our TV channel, we are always watching TV news. We can see that different press conferences are conducted by our ministers and chief ministers, isn't it? And here you have the story for in events of Patalapuram district, and there have some of the issues related to health, sanitation, etc. And for their drinking, for safe drinking water and their sanitation facilities, each of the ministers, they were looked after, and they were implemented different policies and programs for the welfare of the people. And for this, in government, different departments are here. Health departments, public finance departments, and road transport, health department, education department, and each of the department have their own function. അതായത് ഓരോ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റ്സും ഉണ്ട്, ആ ഓരോ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റ്സിന്റെ അണ്ടറിൽ വരുന്ന പ്രോബ്ലംസ് നമ്മുടെ സ്റ്റേറ്റിൽ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ആ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റ് ആണ് അവിടുത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ ചെയ്തു കൊടുക്കുക. That means for the smooth functioning of our state, different departments and each department have their own ministers. They were look after or they were undertake the issues related to that field. These are the major points comes under this lesson. Here we are discussed about how the state government functioning. It's mainly we are discussed the MLA and Legislative Assembly. MLA means those person we the people are selected from each constituencies, isn't it? Constituency means for the purpose of election. The election commission divided number of states or number of states, different constituency, different areas are formed. These areas known as constituency. Election purpose വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് സ്റ്റേറ്റിൽ ഓരോ സ്റ്റേറ്റിലും പല പല ഏരിയാസ് ഡിവൈഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. ഈ ഏരിയാസിനെയാണ് നമ്മൾ കോൺസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യുവൻസീസ് എന്ന് വിളിക്കുന്നത്. ആൻഡ് ദെൻ വി ഡിസ്കസ്ഡ് അബൌട്ട് ദ റൂളിംഗ് പാർട്ടി. ദാറ്റ് മീൻസ് ദോസ് പാർട്ടി rule or function in the present year, and those party who got highest majority in election, they form ruling party. And next majority which party have, and they formed opposition party. Then they formed government. That's ruling party formed government. Okay, these are the important points under this chapter. Okay, we wind up the session. Thank you, students.